The morning started like any other on my small countryside farm. Smell of hay in the air, roosters yelling louder than necessary, and the sound of my old tractor refusing to start until the third attempt. I had just finished feeding my horses when the ground began to vibrate beneath my boots. At first, I thought it was distant thunder rolling across the valley. But then I heard the unmistakable groan of heavy diesel engines. Two massive fuel trucks, glossy red and ridiculously oversized for our narrow rural road, crawled toward my driveway like armored beasts. Their engines hissed, brakes screeched, and black smoke puffed up into the sky in thick, ugly clouds. The HOA logo, pretentious gold script, was plastered across both vehicles. My stomach tightened. "Here we go," I muttered. Last month, the HOA had declared my farm an eyesore despite the fact that it existed long before their luxury subdivision sprouted up across the hill. They didn't like my horses, didn't like my barn, didn't like the smell of nature, and definitely didn't like that I wasn't interested in being bullied. They had tried fines, threats, and even bogus surveys. Now, they had apparently upgraded to psychological warfare via industrial fuel tankers. The first truck stopped right at the edge of my gate. The second idled behind it, blocking the road entirely. A tiny woman in heels, HOA President Marge Whitfield, stepped out and immediately waved her clipboard like it was a weapon. "This farm is in violation of several community standards," she shouted over the rumbling engines. I crossed my arms. "This isn't your community. This is agricultural land." She smiled the way a snake might before deciding where to bite. "We're staging an inspection. These trucks will stay here until we finish our assessment." The drivers smirked like they were part of some grand intimidation plan. I didn't flinch, because while Marge thought she brought intimidation, she had no idea who my closest friends were, or what kind of training they had. I pulled out my phone. One tap, then another. A message sent. "Need you guys." HOA stun again. Within seconds, 3 dots appeared. "On our way." Most people don't have federal agents as lifelong friends. I do. Mason, a federal investigator. Rhea, cyber ops specialist. And Torres, tactical response officer. We'd grown up together, trained together. And even though our lives took different directions, our loyalty stayed carved in stone. Marge kept yapping rules and violations, completely unaware of the storm she had just invited. The diesel fumes thickened the air as the trucks continued, roaring like beasts on chains. I leaned against the fence, calm as ever. "Keep those engines running," I said. "You're going to want witnesses for what happens next." Marge was still pacing around the first fuel truck, barking orders at the drivers, like a drill sergeant who'd never actually been to a drill. She pointed at my barn, took pictures of my tractor, and even knelt down to photograph a patch of dirt, as if soil itself could violate community peace. The trucks kept their engines running, creating a choking fog that drifted across my fields. I stood quietly, leaning against my fence post, waiting, because when my friends said they were on their way, they didn't mean a casual drive over. They meant swift, tactical, and unmistakable. The sound reached us before anything came into view, a deep, rhythmic chopping that vibrated the air. Marge froze. The truck drivers looked up nervously. What is that?" she stammered. I didn't answer. A sleek black helicopter cut across the sky, descending in a perfect arc. Dust spiraled as it approached my pasture, kicking up grass and hay. The HOA president shielded her face like she was under attack. The helicopter touched down with military precision right in the middle of my field. The noise alone was enough to drown out the diesel engines. When the side door slid open, 3 figures stepped out. Calm, deliberate, and unmistakably federal. Mason was the first to approach. Tall, broad-shouldered, black windbreaker with those for bold letters that made grown men rethink their life choices. Rhea followed, tablet in hand, scanning everything with silent efficiency. Torres was last, sunglasses, tactical vest, and the kind of smirk that said he hoped someone tried something stupid today. Marge's lips parted. Who are they?" "Friends," I said simply. Mason surveyed the trucks. "Why do you have commercial tankers blocking a public road?" The driver stiffened. We're following instructions from the HOA. "Do you have transport permits?" Mason asked. Silence. "Do you have environmental clearance to idle fuel carriers near livestock?" Rhea added. More silence. "Do you have any legal authority to conduct Inspections on private agricultural land. Torres asked, lifting his sunglasses. Marge swallowed hard. We're enforcing community regulations. This isn't your community, Mason replied. And these vehicles are committing 3 separate violations by being here. I watched Marge's confidence leak out like air from a punctured tire. She tried to reclaim her voice. This is harassment. This farm affects our property values. Rhea tapped her tablet. Actually, I just checked. Your subdivision was built illegally close to farmland. If anyone has grounds for a complaint, it's him. Mason turned to me. Want us to handle the trucks? I smiled. Absolutely. The engines rumbled loudly, almost trembling, because intimidation only works when the other side is afraid. And I wasn't. The drivers exchanged panicked glances as Mason strode toward the lead-fuel truck, his boots crunching against the gravel with slow, deliberate authority. Torres circled around the second truck, inspecting the tires, the tank pressure indicators, even the placards on the side. Rhea stood slightly behind them, tablet in hand, scanning barcode labels and snapping photos as if building an evidence file. Marge, desperate to reclaim control, scampered after them. You can't do this. These trucks are part of an HOA operation. Mason didn't even spare her a glance. Ma'am, these vehicles are regulated by federal transport laws. If they're operating illegally, it's our jurisdiction, not yours. Torres peered under the truck's chassis. These brake lines look worn. Real worn. The first driver swallowed hard. They passed inspection last month. Where? Torres asked, straightening up. At a real facility or your cousin's garage? The man didn't answer. Rhea was tapping quickly on her tablet. Their transport permit expired 8 months ago. They're not authorized to carry hazardous materials on any public road. Mason shot Marge a look so sharp it could have sliced metal. You brought unauthorized fuel tankers onto private property, parked them within 10 feet of livestock, and blocked a county-maintained road. That's a safety violation, a transport violation, and obstruction. Marge's voice cracked. This is absurd. We just wanted to perform a compliance review. I finally stepped forward. Marge, your HOA doesn't have jurisdiction here. You can complain, file letters, even stomp your feet, but you don't get to send fuel trucks to intimidate me. She jabbed her pen toward my house. Your farm is disruptive. Your animals smell, your equipment is old, and you bring down the standard of the neighborhood. Torres chuckled. Lady, this is a farm. Farms smell. That's literally the point. Mason tapped the truck's tank with his knuckles. These trucks are illegal to operate until the violations are cleared. They're not going anywhere. Both drivers looked like they might faint. But we need to move them, one stammered. The HOA told us to block his driveway for as long as necessary. Congratulations, Mason said dryly. You followed an illegal order. Rhea added, and there's more. This subdivision filed an improper complaint with the county, claiming this land was vacant and unmaintained. I just pulled property records. This farm predates the HOA by 43 years. Marge's jaw dropped. That can't be right. It is, Rhea replied. Meaning you're harassing a lawful agricultural owner. Mason turned to me. Your call. Want us to cite them, tow them, or shut the operation down completely? I took a long breath, watching Marge's face shift from pink to pale. Oh, we're shutting it down, I said. Every last part of it. Marge stood frozen as the weight of everything finally hit her. The once confident HOA president, who marched onto my property, surrounded by 2 roaring fuel trucks, now looked like a deflated balloon, her clipboard dangling uselessly at her side. The truck drivers looked equally terrified, their eyes darting between Mason and Torres like cornered animals waiting for a verdict. Torres clicked a photo of the truck's hazard placard. Illegal transport of flammable material. That's a federal fine starting at 10 grand. The lead driver groaned. I told them this was stupid. You didn't tell us enough, Marge snapped. But her voice had lost all its earlier venom. Rhea stepped forward. I've already sent our findings to the county inspector, the environmental board, and the Federal Transport Authority. They'll get the reports within minutes. Marge's mouth opened and closed like a malfunctioning puppet. Why you can't just do that? Oh, we can, Rhea said calmly. And we did. Mason waved the drivers over. Keys. Now. They didn't hesitate. Both men handed over their keys like schoolchildren surrendering contraband. Mason tossed them into an evidence bag. These vehicles are immobilized until further notice, he said. A tow team is already on the way. Marge gasped. Tow team. Torres smirked. Yeah, the kind with rotating lights and long tow chains. You know, the ones that haul away huge, illegally parked tanks. I folded my arms, enjoying every second. Marge, did you really think bringing fuel trucks onto my property was going to scare me? She sputtered. We were trying to encourage compliance. By staging an environmental hazard? I asked. Rhea interjected. Speaking of hazards, the county inspector is requesting your HOA's authorization records. You want to find those. Quickly. Marge looked like she might faint. This is going to ruin us. I shrugged. Then maybe you shouldn't have poked. The farm owner, who is federal. Agents for friends. Mason stepped beside me. We'll make sure the trucks are removed. Do you want us to file the harassment charges now? Or wait until the county moves first? I took a slow breath. The sun warmed my shoulders. The horses grazed peacefully behind me. And for the first time in weeks, I felt calm again. Let the county handle the paperwork first, I said. Then we'll add our part. Mason nodded. Consider it done. Within minutes, the distant sound of tow engines echoed from the highway. Marge stared helplessly as her grand intimidation plan crumbled faster than a sandcastle. In a storm, she finally muttered, we'll be leaving now. Torres grinned. Good idea. The HOA president and her rattled drivers retreated, stepping away from the wreckage of their own scheme. I patted Mason on the shoulder. Thanks for coming. Anytime, he said. Next time, call us sooner. I smiled. Next time, I just might.